Good morning, and welcome to the Grief Support Group radio show. I'm your host, Alex Piscatelli, and this is the show where I talk all things pop culture, my research on grief and media, and I answer your advice questions. Now, we have a great show. Guess why? Okay, here, let me tell you why. Let me give you the weather report. It's so sunny. Yeah. No, it's glorious outside, and we'll get to that. But first, let me see what you have in store for today. You know what I'm saying? So first, I'm sure I actually have quite a few notes of things to say. It's just things that have come up through this week, and if I'm taking notes on things to discuss and it's like conversation points. Listen, I always have an agenda for these episodes. Like I'm not just it may seem chaos, but I have a very organized chaos. That's what I'm going to say. But I've been taking notes on like specific things to discuss because you know what? It's springtime almost. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling young. I'm feeling wild. I'm feeling free. These are the last moments of being 29.75 and I'm going to savor it because guess what? My 30th birthday is going to last from March 20th, so it starts tomorrow. March 20th through June 21st. So, yeah, it's my birthday time. So if you see me in these streets, you better say happy birthday. Okay, so we're going to talk about some things today. Then I am going to give you a thesis update, and I wanted to talk about how grief comes up in creative practice. Got a little bit to discuss there. Then I have two advice questions for you. One is going to be about supporting a partner who has lost a parent, and the other one is going to be about starting a new job and preparing for it in the best way possible. So it's going to be a good show. I have lots of stuff in store for you. Today's playlist is actually has me feeling good. But yeah, I think first where we must begin is once again, weather report. The weather is feeling good. I'm feeling good as a result. I will say I currently do have mustache sweat going on. That's to be expected. But one thing I wanted to say about weather that I find particularly interesting is my truth in the matter. And for those who don't know, I was born in San Diego. I was raised in San Diego. I went to college in San Diego. And then when I first moved out of San Diego, it was to Los Angeles. So I spent the first 25 years of my life in Southern California and in warmth and in sun and in sunshine. And to me, that's what's most natural. That's what's most important. And I'm never going to say, the snow, like, love that. I'm never going to be like, oh, I want like snow for Christmas. Like, that's just not my vibe. Like, that's not what I want to do. And so I was just thinking about this a lot because I am wearing shorts today. Okay. And when I tell you I'm wearing shorts, what this looks like in my case is that my legs are not shaved. And you know what? If you don't shave your legs, good for you. I need to shave I do feel as though I need and want to shave my legs, right? But because I live here and I spent 3 years in the East Coast before living here, I feel like the way in which okay, let me just say this. If you're from San Diego, you are prepared for all weather types that are above 70 degrees, okay? You can wear a jean. You can wear a short, you can wear flip-flops, you can wear whatever it may be, and you are prepared, you are ready. Now being somewhere cold, it's just like you're not ready for all weather. Like, you can act like you are like, oh, I'm like a jack of all trades, right? Like, I can dress for any weather. When you're in Southern California, what you do is you develop this expertise when the weather is above 70 degrees. Like, you can just deal with it better. I think it's more important to develop a sort of expertise than I do think it is to be a jack of all trades. So for me, this is really bothersome. I have lost that San Diego touch. And what I mean by that is when you're in San Diego, born and raised, you develop this thing where like your toes always have to be ready to be exposed. And I am that no longer applies to me. I cannot wear an open-toed shoe at this point in my life. I have not. This is part grad school and not having this sort of money to spend at the moment, and part just just not being in the habit of it, I guess, too. But no, it's more the money, I would say. But my toes, I haven't had a pedicure in like 2 years. And to me, that's fine. But like my toes don't feel prepared to be out and about in such a way. And so as soon as I graduate, for my graduation, I'm getting a pedicure and then I'm never going to stop again. Like, to me, that's so important. And the great thing about a pedicure, unlike a manicure, you need to get that done every 3 weeks, 4 if you're really pushing it. For your pedicure, you can do that like 4 or 5 times a year, honestly, because no one's going to look that close. Your toes honestly just need to look good from afar. But I don't often wear my glasses, so I actually don't know what afar means for many people. When I wear my glasses, I need to wear my glasses, look at my toes and see what the vibe is. But I also know that I'm closer to my toes. I'm maybe further away from my toes than other people. I stand at 5'3", and so you just need to assess the situation and see the heights at which the people you talk to, kind of the velocity, field difference of how far they are from you when they're looking at your toes. And listen, not everyone's going to look at your toes at all times, but sometimes you get someone being like, oh, I love your toe color. And then you're like, okay, so people are noticing your toes. Like, it's just one of those things. And all I can say is growing up in San Diego, pedicures was something me and my mom loved to do together. And I probably started getting pedicures, starting my 8th grade, dance or my 8th grade graduation. And I found it really important to continue. And yeah, I think that's where we're at. That being said too, I think because I'm going to start getting pedicures again and that I want to manifest more weather like this, that I am going to bring back flip-flops. Okay. And that's my truth. And this is being from Southern California. And I'm going to say it and I'm going to stand strong in this opinion. But I grew up, or I'll just say from late middle school on, maybe even earlier, because you know what? I grew up wearing the Old Navy, $1 flip-flops. I loved those, grew up with those. Okay, you had multiple colors. You felt sexy and fun, wearing your orange ones at some points, the pink ones, whatever, right? But then I would say starting middle school age, when you're wearing your Hollister shirt with your skinny jeans, what you do at that point is you wear it with a rainbow sandal. For those who, I actually don't know, I genuinely don't know how popular rainbow sandals are outside of Southern California. It's a leather sandal. Honestly, there's nothing particularly special about them. They're just a leather sandal, and everyone was wearing them in San Diego in let's say 2009 to 2015 or whatever, always wearing them. And I stopped wearing them because guess what? I got to college at San Diego State in 2014, and I'm going to say something, and I'm so sorry, but there started to be Bay Area people who moved to San Diego, and all of them were wearing Birks. And I said, oh my God, Birks are so cute. I'm going to start wearing them too. But I have to be so honest, Birks don't, I'm not a Birk person. I'm sorry. Imagine me in a Birk. It just doesn't, to me, it doesn't calculate. It doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. And I really tried to live in that world for a while. And then I was like, okay, the Birks don't work for me. Then Adidas sandal, Adidas slides were really popular. I was getting that. And then I sort of lost my open toe, casual sandal identity. I really lost that identity, and I'm ready to reel it back in, bring it back to my roots. I am a Southern California girl through and through, and I'm proud of it. And I want to bring back the rainbow sandal, and I want to wear it, and I want to feel good about it. Because let me just tell you, there's something particularly just easy breezy beautiful when you think of a graphic tee, super casual, a baggy pant and a rainbow flip-flop. And I'm sorry that I feel that look is so, maybe not the baggy pant in the 2000s, maybe it was a flare jean of sort, but that look is so classic to me, classic in a casual way. You just show up to the cafe with your friend and you're in a graphic tee, a little graphic tee, a baggy pant and a flip-flop. And so I'm ready. It's time. And that's my declaration on that. Again, I mean no offense to people who wear Birks. It's not for me. It's actually not for me. It just doesn't work for me. It's never worked for me. I'm ready to bring back the rainbow Flip-flop. Okay. So that's that. And that's not even something I wrote down to say. It just sort of came out because that is what you must do in this weather report. So I'm feeling good. The weather report is making me feel more in touch with my identity. I think there's something with the warm weather, my Saturn return being 29.75, the spring, the intersection of all these themes, I think are making me feel strong and powerful and ready to approach the day. So I'm so excited. Okay, now, so now I'm looking at a lot of my notes, and now that I'm looking at them, they feel really disjointed, random, unentertaining in many ways. Because one thing I wrote down is that, so I was thinking about this yesterday because I love a cropped sweatshirt. Okay. And I'm sure I'm not alone. So I have many sweatshirts in which I cropped them so I could have my belly out and feel young, wild, and free. That's just what it's about. But then on the other hand, I also love an oversized sweatshirt. So like I'll buy an XL sweatshirt, I'll cut it, I'll regret cutting it because I wish I had the oversized. It's this dichotomy that we live in every day, right? And so I was thinking about this a lot because there's so many Waymos around. There's so many Cybertruck Teslas. It was so horrible because like a week ago, I was at a stoplight and I was in between two Cybertrucks and I was just like, this isn't what anyone intended. Like no one who wants this. Like it was just it felt overstimulating. Honestly, it was too much. And I'm just like, there's all these inventions going on that I actually don't approve of. Like I don't approve of AI. Like I don't, like whatever, if whatever, I don't like it. And then I don't like these Cybertrucks. And I was just thinking like, if I was an inventor, I would certainly be doing a lot better things. And I was thinking about it and I wrote this down. I don't know how it would work, but I would love a sweatshirt that could be cropped or not, depending on what kind of mood you're in. And then I also wrote this down too, like, so I said I would be inventing a lot more interesting things than AI. And I said the other thing I would invent is like a media literacy curriculum at the K through 12 level. I feel like that's still, I hope that's coming, but I'm just saying like there would be better focuses. I think we could all say. Okay, the other thing I want to say, because I've been thinking about this, is listen, we're all going through our Saturn returns. Well, if you're 7 through 29 or something of the sort, we're going through it right now. And I think I'm starting to see something very interesting in which people are like having kids, people are planning for kids, people are buying houses, all very interesting things. And I'm very proud of everyone for doing what they're doing. Like, that's great. We're all making our own choices. Those are not my choices at this age, but I'm happy for everyone. However, one thing I find really interesting is like, if people are buying a house at this age, like I actually think they should be required to disclose how much their family contributed. I just want to know. Like, I feel like, because to me, I genuinely don't understand money. I don't know how it works. And I would like people to like have some sort of like the same way if you use AI on Meta, it has like the AI little notice. Like I think the notice should also say, if someone announces, hey, I just bought a house, and they're like 27, I think it should say like, here's how much I received in like money from other people. To me, that would be really helpful. I think transparency is key, salary transparency, but also how much money you're getting from others transparency. Listen, I'm happy to say it too. But anyway, I also wrote, we all overshare on social media. If I see the inside of your bedroom, I deserve to know your parents' salary. And I'll keep it at that. Okay. Now, last thing I want to say, because I have many more notes, but I'm just going to stop it here. There's this new Netflix show called Age of Attraction. Some of you may have seen it already. I admittedly have not. And there's a reason for that. So Netflix released a show, and let me just tell you, it is hosted by Nick Viall and his wife, Natalie. And he is from The Bachelor fame. He very famously was in the final 2 on Andy Dorfman's season. This is back in like 2015, right? He was final 2 and didn't get chosen, and he was like this villain of the whole season. Then he comes back the next Bachelorette season for Caitlin Bristow's season. Once again, final 2. It's like a whole thing. He's seen as this villain, once again. Then he comes back to Bachelor in Paradise, and he has like this redemption arc, and people are like, oh, Nick Viall. But listen, I've never liked him. I don't think he was like a villain in the same way that other people said it, because guess what? If you're going on that show, like you're all villains in ways, and that's fine. I love a villain on reality TV. But I feel like he's just like a mansplainer, which I hate. I really hate. And so he then went on Bachelor in Paradise, then ended up becoming the Bachelor himself, got engaged, broke up, whole thing, yada, yada, yada. Now he has a podcast where he gives dating advice to people, all fine. And honestly, I'm going to say it, in ways, his podcast isn't terrible. I actually think he has a certain art for podcasting, or a certain voice, I'll say, and it works. It works in many ways. However, he is now married, and mind you, Nick Viall is like mid-40s, okay? His wife is like 26. Okay, so they started dating 5 years ago. You do the math, you know what I mean? But anyway, now they are the hosts of a new Netflix show called Age of Attraction. And I think I've ranted about this before, that the Netflix shows, for me, I can't do them anymore, like the Love is Blind. And I know I've talked about this before, and I'm sorry to keep beating this drum, but, and I'm not sorry for it. It's more, I want to make sure I'm not being repetitive on this show. If you see me in person, I'm sure I will talk about it ad nauseum. But Love is Blind essentially is probably in its like 8th, 9th season at this point. And they just keep filming them without like really improving like the meta of the show, or and this is just from an entertaining value, right? From a treating its contestants well value. Contestants from its second season and a bunch of people have come together to be like, we need better protections as contestants, because we were treated like, I can't swear, but we were treated like SHIT, okay? And so I don't love that, because like obviously all reality TV inherently, and I admit this as a reality TV fan, right? All of it inherently is not good, because in many ways you are taking advantage of everyday people to have a storyline, and even if it's not manipulated in the way that people are like, oh, reality TV's fake, like in that way, there's still some sort of producer manipulation, even if it's just Survivor, love her, but even if it's just putting a bunch of people on an island and starving them, right? So there's some non-reality happening in the reality of it all. But I just find Love is Blind to be icky, weird. I don't love it anymore. I haven't watched it maybe since like the 5th season. So Netflix reality shows in general, I just don't, I get the ick from them. I don't trust them. I don't feel like it's good. Now this Age of Attraction show, and I didn't even connect the dots that Nick is like 30 years, now that's being dramatic, but like 20 something years older than his wife, and that's why they're hosting it. But it's this show in which people come, and they're all varying ages. So there's like old, I'll say older men and women, and there's like younger men and women, and they like try to make a match. And someone was telling me that they get eliminated if they don't match with someone who's like significant age difference from them. So like I just see a clip on Twitter, and it's this woman and this man, and they're sitting together and they're talking, and she's like, okay, do you want me to say my age? Like, should I say my age? And the guy is like, yeah, just say it. And she's like, I'm 54. And he just kind of nods. And I nod too, because I'm like, yeah, she looks 54. And that's fine. Like, you're 54. I hope you look 54. I think that's a really good thing. Like, that to look our age, right? Anyway, the guy is like, do you want to know my age? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, okay, are you sure you want to know my age? In my head, I'm like, wait, how old is he going to be? Because he could have looked any age, and that I will admit. But then like the clip cut. So I had to do some investigative work. I talked to people who watched the show. I found out this guy was 27, and now that he didn't look 27. It made sense once I knew, but it's one of those things that it's like, oh yeah, like I see it now that I know the truth, but I couldn't tell at first. But I think inherently this show, and I doubt it'll last past a season, but like, what are we doing here? You know, it's just like a perpetuation of like, I mean, not only the Netflix reality shows, who knows how they were treated, obviously these age gaps being, and I'm not even going to get to the age gap of it all, okay? I'm not even going to touch that. I'm more touching the beauty standards that we have, because I would presume and I haven't seen it, I would presume that the older men were like, there's less pressure to look a certain age, whereas the older woman, I would guarantee they all have Botox and filler and all the sorts, which that's fine. If that's your choice to make, that is fine. But I think the weird encouragement of looking an age different than what you actually are is so lame to me. It's like, where are we going? And I don't know if other people feel this way. I just read a really interesting researched piece of writing on like Botox and it impacting dating. I'm assuming as a response to this show. It's from Ailey Jolie on Instagram. Her username is literally Ailey Jolie. It's AILEYJOLIE. And she did this like slideshow on, there's a cosmetic procedure that changes how your brain falls in love. And I thought it was really interesting because it's talking about Botox and it's talking about how you lose these very micro movements of your face. And these are the movements in which when you're talking to someone, like you're mirroring what they say or you're mirroring like their own reactions. And that's how you build trust with people. This isn't obviously in what's the word I'm looking for? This isn't like you're not aware of this process. It's very like primal, I guess. Like you're not aware of kind of the movements you're making and the way you're mirroring someone. This isn't like an intentional thing. This is just what happens when you connect with someone, right? And then like it's just interesting, like those micro expressions that allow you to connect with someone, or those micro expressions that showcase how you're feeling. Like if you're with a partner and there's like a little quick change of your face, and then the partner can then say what's wrong because they notice it on your face. And you're kind of losing those when you have Botox, right? And maybe my Instagram feed has been getting really academic lately, and especially academic in kind of, for some reason I've been seeing a lot, maybe it's because I'm interacting with it, like I'm reading it and being like, oh, that's interesting. But I'm seeing a lot of posts as of late that are kind of critiquing like Botox and these sort of beauty standards, and I don't know. It's fascinating. I actually forget what I was just going to say, but it's really fascinating the way these like micro things impact your brain. Oh, I know what I was going to say. They used, oh my God, why am I blinking on her name? Rachel Sennett, right? The writer and like star of I Love LA. They were using her as an example, not Ali Jolie. I don't know who the person that did this was, but like about the kind of like face that is expressionless and almost pouty. It almost gets to a pout. And it's kind of like the aesthetics of like a quote cool girl is what they say. And I feel like the Botox conversation and that kind of go hand in hand. And it's like this kind of like upfront new age like thing to like kind of be so expressionless. And I thought that was like really interesting, and obviously interesting to me because my face is, you know how I'm feeling based on my face. I don't know. And I'm not like anti-Botox, but I think it's worth critiquing and worth discussing in many of these ways. And I think Age of Attraction is only perpetuating that, like, oh, we shouldn't be our age. We should be trying to look younger. And for what? You know what I mean? Like, why? I don't really, no one's explained why it's better to look younger. Like, I feel like I want to always look my age because, like, age represents wisdom and life experience and whatever, all the things. So yeah, that is my notes. That wasn't even half of it, is the truth of the matter. But okay, we're going to take a music break, and then we are going to get into my thesis update, talking about creative practice, and then we have 2 advice questions for you all. So I will see you all very shortly. First up, we have Beyonce. Welcome back to Grief Support Group. I'm your host, Alex Piscatelli, and we are at the point of the show in which I discuss my thesis and a little bit of something related to research in grief and media, right? Okay, so let's start first and foremost with my thesis. Yes, we are at that time of the semester. It is March 19th. This thought has not escaped me. We are in week 7, week 8, week 9. I don't even know where we're at. Spring break is next week. And what this means for me is I must lock in or I will perish, is the truth of the matter. I must work 12-hour days where I am simply behind. I just feel behind. That's how I feel. I feel stressed. I feel like the thing I'm noticing in my late 20s, and I'm curious if others agree, is that if I'm stressed, if I'm not getting proper sleep, if I'm not getting what have you, it just shows up in my face. I feel like my skin looks bad. And guess what? The thesis is on my skin. I feel it. It's like there's dirt on your face or something. Like if you're on Survivor, like that's how it feels. I must wash it off, but washing it off means dedicating 12-hour days during my spring break in which to get this done. So as you can tell, I'm like super stressed out. Okay. So yeah, I actually feel like hopefully I will have a better update for you next week regarding my thesis. But what I wanted to do leading up to as I'm working on it is I wanted to discuss a little bit about different themes that I have identified. I think once again, I think I'm allowed to do this. Who knows? But something I really wanted to discuss that I found really interesting. And I think this is intuitive in many ways, but obviously we want research to verify your intuition, but your hypothesis, right? But something I found really interesting is that so many people mentioned, I should also say too, for those who are unfamiliar, my thesis is examining the way fans of teen dramas understand and interpret grief. And so, yeah, obviously everyone I interviewed had watched The Summer I Turned Pretty. Most discussed The Summer I Turned Pretty as just one example, including Never Have I Ever, including My Life with the Walter Boys, all these different shows, right? 13 Reasons Why. All of them were available to be discussed. So something I found really interesting is that many of these watchers of these shows come for stories about romance. But along the way, they end up, staying for the grief and drama, learning about grief and death in the process of watching this like romance plot, right? Which I feel like that's pretty true. I'm not watching teen dramas because I'm like, yes, this is going to be an exploration about grief. That is just a thing that comes along when I'm watching it. But yeah, obviously I am watching it for I guess for me, maybe not necessarily romance, although I guess I love a rom-com. That's like rom-com and horror are my two favorite like genres. So I guess I am watching it for the romance, but I think for me in many ways it's for like the nostalgia or for just like, because those are the type of shows I watched growing up, I guess too. Anyway, I think it's interesting people learn about it along the way. And I think like if you think of like an adult drama, you are watching an adult drama because you want drama, right? I remember my mom actually was watching This Is Us, the one with like Mandy Moore and I can't even name anyone else, but that show, and that's such a drama show. I remember being like, I'm not gonna watch this, because my mom was watching it, and it was when I was working at E-News, so that was like the big show then. So I feel like we were posting about it a lot. And I was just like, I'm not going to watch this because it seems so intense. And I find it really funny that my mom was watching it. And I don't even know. I just know it's like a really emotional show. But it's funny because my mom like did not like horror. And not saying this is horror, obviously. But it's like funny because to me, I don't like really like emotional dramas. Whereas horror doesn't feel so like, it feels more not lighthearted, but it feels like an experience to watch. Whereas like I would think a show like This Is Us, I would take that emotion with me after I watched it, and it would make me feel really sad. Where I like to, like my entertainment, I either like to feel comforted in some way, or I like it to be like a very intense experience that I can like forget about as soon as I stop watching. So I would say that's why I like rom-coms, and that's why I like horror, right? Because horror, like you're very much watching it and you're in it and your heart rate is raised, but as soon as it's done, like I'm like whatever, like I'm not gonna get like intrusive thoughts about it. That's just not how my intrusive thoughts work, you know what I mean? But This Is Us, I feel like would lead to a lot more like it would mentally not make me feel well. But anyway, so yeah, you go to those shows like This Is Us, like really drama intense shows for a specific experience, for a specific viewing experience, and you expect that it's going to be emotional. and it's going to be intense. Whereas teen dramas, you are watching them for the lightheartedness. You are watching them for the whimsy. You are going to them for whether it's romance, whether it's for nostalgia, whether it's for funny, silly moments. Like, you are going for some sort of lightheartedness in some way. But yeah, along the way, grief and death are present, and they maybe are making you feel emotional. But I really like this particular quote that one of the participants said. They said, "I noticed something about teen dramas, that it is all about love. If it is not love, it will be death." And I loved that, because I think so much of, I don't know, what I talk about on this show is how obviously life and death are like opposite sides of the very same coin. And I think love and grief are the same thing, where these ideas go so inherently hand in hand. So I like that teen dramas, while the focus is on love, like grief is a part of them in so many ways, even if there's not. And I'm kind of expanding my idea of what grief looks like. I think a lot in my death and dying class and discussions there, but also I think, I don't know, in general, and I feel like this was talked about in interviews many times, where like, yes, the obvious grief and deep grief and whatever is like losing a loved one, right? Like, that is, everyone knows that's grief. And that is what I would consider when I say the word grief. And I think that's what many people would consider. And I think that should still be a huge consideration of what it means to grieve or to be grieving. However, I think so much of life is like, little deaths that happen every single day along the way. Every single day we end a day, like March 18th, oh my God, I almost said 2018. What is going on? March 18th, 2026 just ended yesterday, and it will never, ever, ever happen again. You know what I mean? Like, something as small as that, as like days are dying every single day in that way. We will never experience that again. We're constantly changing, even in such subtle ways, every single day, and we have to grieve what we've left behind. You know, relationships change every single day, even if it's not death. Breakups and friendship breakups and people changing and people not changing together. You know what I mean? It's like every single thing and everything can be considered grief. And I think because of my own personal experience and like need for people and desire for people to want to talk more about grief as it pertains to death, I almost in many ways dismissed that kind of grief. But I don't think it can be dismissed, because I think if as a whole my goal is for us to talk about grief and death more, then we also have to acknowledge other forms of grief, right? I don't know. It's something I've been learning and thinking about a lot this semester. Yeah. Anyway, I guess it's, I know why I started saying this. Because a lot of people even talked about how, in my interviews for my thesis, talked about how, a lot of the grief in the shows is the breakups. For example, with Belly, Conrad and Jeremiah, like at different points when, yes, they're grieving Susanna's death, they're also grieving the way their relationships with each other are changing. So it's all just very interesting. So yeah, that is my thesis update. Hopefully I will have a better update next week. And when I say better update, I don't think that was a bad update. I just feel like I'm stressed. But thank you for allowing me to talk through it in this space. One other thing I wanted to say in this section of my show, is I was applying for a full-time community college instructor role, and I had to do so many parts for this application. It was, oh my God, like the fact that I got it done, I feel like we should celebrate that. I'm tired of not celebrating everything. I think everything, the same way we die little deaths every single day, we have to say goodbye. Like, why don't we celebrate March 19th, 2026? Like, let's do it. You know what I mean? And let's celebrate me having applied for this. And let's celebrate me. I think that's so important. My birthday starts tomorrow. Anyway, so I applied for this role, and one of the many things I had to submit was a statement about my creative process or creative practice and the theories and frameworks that sort of drive my creative practice. And I ended up only talking about one theory because it just, it had to be one page, this particular thing. So I sort of just talked about the framework of it, but I was thinking a lot about, just a lot about this. So essentially, and I talk about this a lot in my work, and I feel like I will bring this if I teach classes that warrant bringing this theory in. And then we also talked about it in my death and dying class on Tuesday, and I was like, oh my God, wait, I know this theory. Anyway, it's called meaning reconstruction theory, and it is from Robert A. Nehmeyer. And in 2001, he wrote this book about meaning reconstruction, right? And it's essentially states that when we experience the death of a loved one, like, we are forever changed in many ways, right? And what we do to after this death is that we have to construct new meaning in our lives, and new meaning without this person, right? And I find this interesting, and I related it to that thing about the little deaths. There's this writer named Milan Kundera, and there's this quote I love, and they said, "What terrifies most about death is not the loss of the future, but the loss of the past. In fact, the act of forgetting is a form of death always present within life." And so I think that kind of goes with the idea of, like, so much loss is happening at all points. Obviously that's talking about kind of like knowing like that we can never get back what we once had. And I think that's why like something like nostalgia is so salient. I think we're all sort of chasing the comforts of the past or the people of the past or whatever it may be. I think so much of grief is around, like, I don't think we're going to see a Fuller House TV show. Sorry, this is like a 2019 reference, but I don't think we're going to see a TV show like that if we're not grieving something in general. You know what I mean? Obviously, a lot of nostalgia is a money grab, but I think a lot of it is because we're all chasing that. And so I was thinking about like this meaning reconstruction, and we're all going through it in some ways. Like, yes, if you have experienced the death of a loved one, you are going through it very strongly, and you can probably feel it very strongly. But even if you're not experiencing the death of a loved one and you're just experiencing the passage of time, you are also trying to find new meaning, is what I argue. And I think that's a lot of what my work does, like my research, of course, and my writing and my doing this show, like, and then my video series that's going to come out next month. But I think it's through this framework where we're all trying to figure out identities and figure out what life is. And I think we use a lot of media around us and a lot of art around us to help make sense of it. Because how can we make sense of it in isolation? I feel like a lot of us making sense of life, because life and the human experience is such a communal thing in many ways. I think we're all trying to make sense of it from each other. And I think that's why media and art and all of that is so important. Okay, I just talked a lot. I haven't even got to my advice questions yet. We're going to take a quick music break, and then we're going to get into those. I will see you shortly. And here is some Sabrina Carpenter to get you through. Welcome back to Grief Support Group. I'm your host, Alex Piscatelli. You just heard some Sabrina Carpenter. And the truth of the matter is that I have not added any Ariana Grande to this playlist, which shocking, very shocking for me. Maybe I'm changing. No, I'm just kidding. I actually, I don't know why I didn't do it. Anyway, that is fine. What I must say though, is you are listening to KSFS Radio San Francisco. KSFS is proudly brought to you by the Department of Broadcast and Electronic Communication Arts here at San Francisco State University, some rights reserved under the Creative Commons license. Now, it is time to get into our advice questions, which is so exciting. I'm very excited about it. If you want to ask an advice question for a future show, please do so. You can do so at bit.ly/KSFS advice. It is completely anonymous, and I would love to hear from you. Okay, let's get into our first advice question. So this person said, "What's the best way I can show up for a partner who just lost a parent?" So thank you for asking this. I always say, I guess every single question is vulnerable in many ways, but I always say thank you when someone comes to me specifically for like a grief related question. I feel like it takes a lot to do so. I don't know. So thank you for doing that. But first of all, I love that you are obviously like thinking about this in a very serious manner. I think just the inherent fact that you asked this question of how you can show up for your partner, I think you are probably doing what you need to be doing. And you are being there for them in many ways, because I think the simple answer is like, show up for them. You know what I mean? That's the simple answer. And I'll start by saying that, and that sounds so lame, but let me explain. I think you are probably one of the people who knows your partner best, right? And so I think you, even though, as we just talked about in our last segment, people can be changed in many ways from grief and from the loss of a loved one. But I think already just show up in the way you know best. I think when it comes to the loss of a parent in particular, and I'm saying in particular because I feel like I can't speak to all death experiences, and not saying I feel or have felt the way your partner feels, but I just want to say something that I think can help kind of illustrate that loss of a parent. Like, you are losing a person, yes, the death of a person, and it's this person who is in your life. But I think what the loss of a parent, especially when you're younger, really signifies is the obviously you're losing a person, like this person. So I'm saying in addition to that, but you're also losing like a sense of security, because that is your parent. Like, you grow up relying on your parents, right? Or guardians, or these figures in your life. And I think losing that sort of like sense of security and losing what childhood was. Like, I think when your parent dies, like you're like, okay, well, I have entered a new realm. And in that theorist who did meaning reconstruction theory, he talks about, like, the very first sentence of his book is he says, my father died when I was 12, and that signified like a new entire life, like or a new entire world. Like, I exited one world and I entered a whole new world. And again, this comes with losses of all sorts of loved ones, but I think in particular with a parent, it's really, in addition to the loss of this person, this individual, you are also losing security, you're losing your childhood, you're losing safety in many ways. I think it's so inherent in us, it's so primal to like rely on your parents, right? Like, in nature, everyone relies on a parent when they're growing up, and I think it's just a scary, terrible thing. So I'm just so happy you are wanting to be there for your partner, especially as they are going through this and will continue to go through this. So again, I said just show up, which is such a simplistic answer, but something I wrote down, and I don't know if this has merit to it. Like, I just sort of like had this idea when I got this question, and take what makes sense for you, leave what doesn't. And this is going to sound so pop psychology of me, and I'm sorry to do that. But I was thinking about the love languages, and I don't know if this will serve as any sort of, like, I don't want it to be like, oh, the love languages, like, yes, this is so real, because I don't know how much of it is like actual psychology, you know, versus just like pop psychology that you show up and you talk about and you have fun with. But I think the love languages could be helpful just for a simplistic framework of how to support your partner. Because right, there's all these 5 different ways to people receive and give love, but I think this can serve as an example of like how you can show up for your partner, these 5 different ways, right? So first, let's start with like an obvious one, right? Acts of service. I think when someone is grieving, and all the time, but especially in these moments of grief, and I don't know what your partner's familial structure looks like, but if they lost a parent, they could have to deal with, having to deal with so many things. I'm blinking, but like, I mean, my parents didn't own like a house or anything, but I had to figure out like the funeral for my mom, especially. My dad's funeral, like my mom and uncle figured that out. But like they may have to deal with that. They may have to deal with, when my mom died, I had to get off, like she was the one doing like my Verizon. Like I had to get my own like cell phone thing. I had to figure that out. I had to figure out like car insurance stuff. I had to figure out all these things because like you're on a family plan, you know what I mean? Like all these things you have to figure out in addition to like getting hospital bills or getting whatever it may be. There's like a ton of just like paperwork and all these things. So acts of service, I would say, if there's any way you can help them with those things, without them having to ask, if you could help them with cleaning, their apartment or whatever, if you could bring them, well, I guess this might be more gifts, but I was going to say like cook them food or whatever it may be. Showing up and doing acts of service could be helpful. I guess I'll go to gifts now. Making them dinner, giving them dinner, or like going to the store and seeing like a little thing that makes you think of them and bringing that to them. That could be a potential thing. I will go to words of affirmation now. Words of affirmation, maybe like if they want to, asking them about their parent and to tell stories, or asking them how they're feeling, or telling them they're valid for how they're feeling, or complimenting them, or whatever it may be, kind of using your words to make them feel comfortable. Next, I will go to quality time. Who knows what they want to do? Maybe they want a sort of distraction in a way, being like, hey, let's go to like the park and like have a picnic, or being like, let's sit and talk over coffee, like doing things like that you're really spending time with each other and kind of not avoiding, because I think you need to balance these things with being so in it and so in the grief and so in the paperwork and whatever it may be, but taking time to go away from those things and just spend time with each other, I think could be something, even if it's just watching TV together or whatever it may be, or watching a movie together. I think spending quality time together could be a thing. Okay, and now unfortunately I'm forgetting the physical touch. Now for physical touch, maybe, I don't know, hugging them or holding their hand or whatever it may be, making sure to connect with them in that way, I think is a huge thing. So again, 5 love languages. I love talking about it as much as I love talking about astrology in many ways. But I think the 5 languages are pop psychology. I'm not saying this like as if I'm a psychologist, or I'm not saying this, because this is like the way to do it. What I'm saying, the reason why I'm saying these as a sort of framework is I think it can be easy to remember. And I think you probably know what your partner typically likes the most and what makes them feel the most seen already of those love languages. And I think continuing to help them in those ways, but then also expanding to more things, I think can be really, really helpful. So once again, I thank you for submitting this question, and I'm sorry to hear about your partner's loss. That's huge. And yeah, I'm really sorry about it, but I'm really glad you're going to be there for them. I think that's huge. And I've said it before, I've said it again, and I'll continue to say it, that I think community is such an important aspect of grief. I think we need the people around us we need to rely on them, and we all need to rely on each other. And I think that's the way to continue on in a life that can be filled with grief. You know what I mean? Okay, well, once again, thank you so much. We are going to take a quick music break, and then we're going to get into our final advice question. I will see y'all soon. Welcome back to Grief Support Group. I'm your host, Alex Biscatelli, and we are at our final advice question of the beautiful sunny day. Okay, so this person said, previous question asker, which love that. I told my boss I'm leaving the company, but now I feel sad I'm leaving the job I once hated. How do I mentally cleanse myself from this job and prepare for the new one? So I think this person is from Grief Support Group number 16, the episode from 3 weeks ago. Highly recommend giving that one a listen. Actually, you know what? Stream all of Grief and Media, all my podcasts, okay? Go to griefandmedia.com and stream. But anyway, yeah, you're so funny, because this person said like, oh my God, I hate my job and like, I'm gonna quit. Like, how do I do it? Now I'm getting cold feet on quitting. And so I find you really funny, and not in a shaming way. I genuinely love you. Okay. So, I told my boss I'm leaving the company. Now I feel sad I'm leaving the job I hated. How do I mentally cleanse myself from this job? Okay. So I feel like, first of all, that's so natural. I'm someone who I will go through a hard time or have a hard experience or have a job I hate or whatever it may be. And then I'll leave and I'll be like, wait, that wasn't that bad. Like, oh wait, why did I, you know what I mean? I'll be like, I feel like, you know how they say hindsight is 20/20? Now I'm thinking that doesn't apply. Ignore that I said that. But anyway, I just feel like you can very much like romanticize and idealize something once you're no longer in it. And so, I'm sure you're sad. Change is sad in general. Again, bringing it back to the fact that we die these little deaths every day. Like, you will never have this experience of working at this job again once you're gone. I mean, you could come back, but it's going to be different. It's not going to be the same as this exact experience right now. So I think that's natural to be sad about it. But I think it's so exciting that you're starting something new, and starting something new maybe that you're excited about. I mean, I don't know, but I'm assuming you took this job because you did hate the other one, right? And this is going to be a really good experience for you. I think there's always a reason why we take the next jobs that we do. I was just talking about this with a friend. I think you can tell you're ready to move on from a job if you're not. I mean, of course, if you hate it, that's like an obvious, right? Like, yeah, it's time to move on. I hate this. But if you are at this job and you don't feel as though you're learning anything new, I think that's a huge thing. And so, yeah, I think it was time for you to leave. And I think you need to remember all the things that made you leave. And so you're asking how to mentally cleanse from this. I think list that out. I think list all the things that you're letting go from this job and that you're done with this job. And then you're saying how to prepare for the new job. Write down all the things that you're excited for, or all your goals that you want to accomplish in your first 3 months, 6 months, 1 year of this job. I think I'm always going to be a proponent of journaling, even though I don't journal often myself. I would like to do it more often. This is a do as I say, not as I do. However, I think it's important in this moment to journal, because I think kind of writing down and getting it all out, like what it was about this job, that even the things you'll miss, write it down. The things you'll miss, the things you want to let go of, the things that you didn't get to do in this job, and then write down what you want to do moving forward in your new job, what you want to accomplish, what you want it to feel like, set the tone for it, and go in with a clear picture. You don't have to journal it. You could just talk about it with someone. You could just contemplate it as you look at the beautiful sunny weather and the blue sky. Look at some beautiful flowers that bloom only in the springtime. Notice how flowers aren't blooming in all times of the year. Springtime is the best. But anyway, you could always what's the word? Not meditate. Mindfulness and think about these things too. I think there's multiple ways to do it. The reason why journaling I think is good, because you can kind of get out those words, and I think you can have a clear focus of what you're working on, so then you're going to be able to really get out what you want to say and be able to build upon what you've written down. So yeah, I'm really excited for you to start your new job. And I also said this too, and I know this isn't always possible when starting new jobs, but I said if you can take some time off in between the two jobs as like a mental reset, even if it's just one weekend or whatever it may be. I think it's really important to kind of feel that moment and feel, okay, I'm done with this job. Okay, I'm starting this new one. Let me really take some time to figure out who I am and who I want to be. I don't know if that's cheesy, but anyway, I'm so happy for you. Journal and feel good about it, feel accomplished, feel proud. I am proud of you. Okay. How's that feel? I hope that's good. This has been another episode of Grief Support Group. I'm your host, Alex Piscatelli. If you want to ask an advice question, anytime, any place, you can do so at bit.ly/KSFS advice. That is bit.ly/KSFS advice. If you want to hear old episodes of Grief Support Group, not old, these are evergreen, and that's what I'll say. Even when I'm talking about the weather, this is evergreen. You can do so at griefandmedia.com or search Grief and Media anywhere you get your podcasts. Okay, well, thank you all for this beautiful March 19th, 2026 show. I'm excited to see you all next week. Have a great day. Enjoy the spring, and I will see you soon. And I'll leave you off with one song. Goodbye.